Great. Now I want to invite the rest of the ING team, including our newest members who recently joined ING. I'm going to introduce them first very briefly, since you can view their full bios on our website. Let me start with Melissa Levinson, who is our program associate. Melissa has done content development work for ING and now does scheduling and communications for all of our speakers bureaus. And Melissa has a master's degree in Arab Studies. Welcome, Melissa.
Great to be here.
Next is Delia Al-Toumi, who is our development manager, which is a new position for the organization. And Delia has a bachelor's degree in political science and years of experience in advocacy work. Welcome, Delia.
Thank you.
Next up is Dr. Zachary Markwith, who is our education manager. And Zach has a PhD in Islamic Studies and an MA in Comparative Religions. Zach, welcome.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, of course, our newest member of the team is Hassanin Sayed, who is our digital guru and master. He has degrees in business, film, and advertising. Welcome, Hassanin.
Glad to be joining you all. Thank you.
Welcome to all of you. And now I want to invite our veterans. Let me begin with Rahime Ramazani, who is our programs manager. Rahima has been with us for 1.5 years, and Rahima has a master's degree in intercultural communications. Welcome, Rahima.
Thank you so much, Mara.
Next is Ishaq Batan, who is our Bay Area director and has been with us for 5 years. Ramadan is his anniversary, 5-year anniversary. Ishaq has a bachelor's degree in anthropology with minors in education and Middle Eastern studies. Welcome, Ishaq.
Thank you.
And next is Dr. Henry Milstein, who is one of our content managers. And Henry's been with us for 10 years. And Henry has a PhD in Jewish studies. Welcome, Hank.
Great to be here.
And last but not least, of course, is Amina Jandari, who is also a content manager. And Amina and I have been together for the last 29 years. And Amina has a master's degree in Near Eastern studies. Welcome, Amina.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So for our audience to get to know all of you better, let's start with one of the questions that I asked the Bestum earlier for the newer folks. And the question is, in 30 seconds or less, if you can do it, what motivated you to join ING? What motivated you to join ING? Let me go ahead and begin with Melissa.
I knew I was going to be first. It was making me nervous. But no, I was really passionate. I've always been passionate about, improving perceptions of other people, specifically Muslim Americans. And I wanted to, join a team that does meaningful work and has such a dedicated staff. And that's really been my experience since I joined here. So I'm really thankful that I decided to come.
Wonderful. Delia?
I'm going to definitely piggyback on that idea. The exact same reasons, plus it offers me the platform to address my sense of purpose. And I've been here just a couple of weeks, but I feel like I'm part of the family. So, so that's one of the main reasons why I joined this organization.
Wonderful. Zach?
Amina Jandali spoke at a course I took at UC Berkeley about 15 years ago, and I immediately recognized the value of ING's presentations. I think the organization is the most impactful Muslim and interfaith nonprofit in the US in terms of conveying accurate and sympathetic knowledge about Islam and Muslims. Personally, I think there's an acute need to reach out to the public beyond the classroom because of the rise of Islamophobia and xenophobia in general. And I want my daughters to grow up in an America where they feel safe if they choose to express their faith publicly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zach. Hassanin, you are the newest kid on the block. You and I have worked together for just a few months. Why are you here? You're on mute.
My apologies. I'm drawn to ING because it's one of the unique organizations that sits at the intersection of improving education, perceptions, and partnerships. Mm-hmm. We know knowledge is power, but misinformation and fears melt away when you're exposed to people and the right knowledge. And I love the collaborative nature of ING's work, where we
Mhm.
partner with organizations not to preach to them, but to
Mhm.
work with them to educate and improve their perceptions.
Wonderful, thank you. So for the veterans that have been here for longer than a year, like you, Rahime, what has kept you here at ING?
Well, for me, because I work directly in programs, I get to see the impact directly that ING has on the viewpoint of students and our adult audiences. And I really love seeing people's reactions to the presentations in the panels. They are blown away and come up to us afterwards. All of the speakers, all of the staff, they come up to us afterwards. They're like, thank you so much for being here. We've learned so much. This is exactly what we were looking for. It's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
Wonderful, thank you. As Hawk, 5 years.
Yeah,
That's
5
a
years,
long
Miss
time for a
Ramadan.
millennial.
Super exciting. But I think I've stayed primarily because I'm really proud of the work we do here, and specifically how we do it. I love how we provide nuance when we educate about Muslims, other world religions, and Islamophobia in the context of racism. And then the impact, as Rahima was mentioning, is really, key for that satisfaction. By hearing about testimonials from our audience members and requesters, I really get a lot of satisfaction from what we do here.
Thank you. Henry, what's kept you here? 8 years.
Well,
yeah. Or 10 years, sorry, 10 years.
Right, yes, I didn't realize it was that long. Boy, I'm a longtime social justice activist, and I was just drawn to the fact that ING is working on something that is becoming increasingly urgent with the denigration and attacks on Muslims. And it was something that, as soon as I learned about it, I thought, this is something I want to do, want to join in. I come from a Jewish background, so, our people are very well acquainted with, the equivalent of Islamophobia. So I felt that this is something I really want to join. Also gave me an opportunity to learn about Muslims and Islam, which is a tradition that I had formerly known very little about. I was fairly well versed in Christianity and Judaism, and even to some extent in Buddhism, but about Islam, I realized I knew practically nothing. So I'm still learning, and it's, an incredibly valuable experience for me. Plus, ING people have a sense of humor, but they're very determined to do what we do, and it's just a wonderful place to work.
Thank you so much, Henry. And Amina, the longest ever, as long as I've been here.
I mean, that's the perils of going last. Everyone's already said everything. So obviously, engaging with our audiences and witnessing really firsthand the impact that we make in terms of changing perceptions. Sometimes it'll be a long drive, it'll be a new location. Back in the day, there was I took a long time getting GPS, even when it was out, it took a long time. So I would literally, print or write out the directions. It's the new place to go and very stressful. And then you get there and when you leave, it's a totally different sensibility that, oh my God, I've actually impacted these people's lives. So that's what keeps people coming back and has kept me here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amina. So the next set of questions are going to go fairly quickly, and I'm just looking for 10-second answers for some of them. Some of them are a little bit longer, but let me begin with a fun one first. And I wanted you to tell us, and Tabassum, I really want you to join in this as well. Can you tell us the first place you're going to travel post-COVID and why you're going to go there? Let me begin with you, Tabassum.
Disney World.
That's right. You told me that. Why?
It's just you go there and you go to the showcase of nations, and you feel like you have gone all over the world without and still be COVID compliant.
My family is really big on Disney as well, so I'm with you 100%. Melissa, where are you going, if anywhere?
I actually had a trip scheduled to go to Morocco last May with my mom, which Morocco is the first place in the Middle East that I had gone when I was 15 or 16. So I was really excited to go. So hopefully once this is all over, we still have our tickets, so we'll get to go.
Wonderful. Delia.
So I didn't get that memo that COVID was over. So I took the trip a little bit early. I just came back from Jamaica. So the next place I'll go is probably back to Jamaica. If I had the option, that's how amazing it was. So,
That's wonderful. Wonderful. That sounds so nice. Zach?
We want to visit my in-laws in Toronto. My wife and girls and I haven't seen them in almost 2 years, and we of course miss them. They're originally from Iraq and have now retired in Canada.
Wow, that's the first place I'm going. I'm going back to see my family as well, but in the very uninteresting New Jersey. Hassanin, where are you traveling?
I'm in Zach's boat. I'm going to go to visit family in Hyderabad, India, and my in-laws in Jeddah.
Oh my God. Oh goodness. A lot to ask you there, but I won't. Rahime.
I would really love to go visit my family in Iran. I haven't seen them for a few years, so that's definitely first on the list.
Ishaq?
I have a trip planned to the United Kingdom. God willing, inshallah, it's all going to go to plan.
And why are you going to
Why
the
is that?
I'm going to get married to someone who lives there.
It's wonderful. Congratulations. It's very exciting. Henry?
We're going to be taking a trip to North Cascades National Park in Washington. And we have a family tradition of doing at least one camping trip over the summer, but COVID really has knocked us out of that. So we're going to be very happy to get back to it.
Wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Amina? Going anywhere?
I've had Europe on my bucket list for a long time, and I'm hoping to hit Grenada, Bosnia, Switzerland, and then end up in Turkey, which I did take a trip to during COVID. I always like to go.
Just like Dalia. Dalia.
You should keep that information private.
So let's get a bit more serious, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Again, please keep it short, just to give a flavor, a taste for people about who you are. What's one personal core value that drives you? And I'm going to begin with Tabassum again. One personal core value that drives you, Tabassum.
I would keep coming back to discipline.
Discipline?
Yes.
Just like a good auditor, accountant you are. Excellent. Let me switch it up a little bit. Rahime, core value.
I had to think about this, picking one. I would say submission to the will of God. I'm far from good at it. I definitely am not good at it, but it is a core value that I do try to instill in my life.
That's beautiful. Zach?
I value compassion, which I think is based upon recognizing the innate dignity and sanctity of human beings and practically learning how to be in dialogue.
Oh, amen. Thank you. Delia, core value.
It's probably going to have to go back to purpose. That the purpose of life and how that relates to the legacy I plan to leave behind. And so that's probably what drives me the most, is finding that purpose, which is something very fluid. It changes as with age, with time, with circumstances. So that's basically what drives me, is purpose.
Meaning in the work that you do. That's beautiful. Melissa?
Mine is commitment to personal growth, just constantly trying to learn through new things and be open to new perspectives and opinions.
By the end of your time with ING, you will probably have held every possible position. You went from content development to communications to scheduling, so you're definitely fulfilling that purpose. Ms. Hub?
I think values are always hard because you have to make sure that whatever you say, other people are going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So mine would be loyalty. And I think most people would agree as well.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Cool.
Hassanin?
To me, it's gratitude. I feel like we have too much going for us than against us.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, gratitude feels like the energy core that powers Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Without it, I'd feel utterly weak and like a victim. And I can't stand feeling like a victim.
Wow. Amina.
I think it's really the importance of making this world a better place in whatever way we can. And I think that goes back to what others have talked about, purpose. What is our purpose in this life, and trying to fulfill that purpose.
It's beautiful. And Henry?
Well, I would say justice. I'm passionate about justice. I'm outraged whenever I see situations of injustice, of which there are plenty, and I just have to do something about it. Whatever I can do.
Wow, that so speaks to you, Hank, and it also what Amina said also speaks to her. I've known you both the most, and it's beautiful. So the next question is.
What about you, Maha?
I was gonna say compassion and love. I'm in line with with Zach. I do this work. I was inspired to do this work because I really felt that Americans had a right to know the truth about Islam and needed to meet Muslims because I held the same stereotypes that I grew up in a very secular family, and I grew up with the same stereotypes that many Americans have today. And so when I learned about Islam by reading and interacting with Muslims, I took a 180 degree and I thought, my God, why didn't I know about this? People have a right to know the truth. And I do it from a place of compassion in the sense that because I held those stereotypes myself, I approach people that have them, with an understanding and compassion for just not knowing. So that's where I'm coming from, and I do it also with a lot of love. You can't be a practicing Muslim and not have love in your heart for everyone. Thank you for asking. I'm asking all of you the questions. Role models. Who is your role model and why? Very briefly. So let me begin with you again, Tabassum, our fearless leader.
I from the time I was young, it was Jane Addams. Because of the social justice work that she did, and of course, because she was also Chicago-based, it's a hero that I could relate to, and with the Hull House, and what her work seems actually way ahead of its time, where she actually built a halfway house. So it wasn't just a hand out, it was a hand up. So I find that kind of work really, really inspirational.
Thank you. Amina, role model and why?
There are so many, especially today, it's overwhelming. But someone I've always really admired is Dr. Intisar Rabb. For her position as a Harvard law professor and working on Islamic law. She got a grant from MacArthur Foundation. But she actually recently took a case where she was defending a police officer and actually won. And that really shows that being an academic doesn't mean you have to live in an ivory tower. You can be, engaged with the present. And I think that's something that we don't always see. And she does her work very quietly. Today, with our digital age, people are all about self-promotion, and she doesn't do any of that. So that's really impressive.
Oh, beautiful. A scholar activist. Zach, your role model.
After the prophets, peace be upon them, it would be my late teacher from Senegal, Sheikh Abdoulaye J, who shared the nonviolent and spiritual teachings of Ahmadou Bamba, who was a Gandhi-like Muslim scholar who lived in West Africa at the turn of the 20th century during French colonial rule. But Sheikh J himself, he was a very devout Muslim of considerable learning who regularly visited Christians, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, and also cared deeply about our practical responsibilities. So he was the one who advised me to go earn my doctorate before I had taken a single college course.
Wow, interesting. Very interesting. Melissa, role model and why?
Mine's really cliche, but mine is my parents. My parents are my best friends, and they're the people that I always look to when I need advice, and I admire them for, their continuous compassion and putting other people first. And I owe a lot of who I am to my parents.
That's beautiful. Hassanin.
For me, it's Prophet Muhammad. I never really understood what his life was like until I, as an adult, started to read. And he espoused the qualities that I admire most: mercy, compassion, the staunch pursuit of justice, patience, integrity, and justice, or generosity. And I think for me, what stands out is how he practiced these principles, both in times of ease, but especially in times of hardship.
Yeah. Amen to that. My prayer always is to reform my personality in the spirit of the prophet, peace be upon him. And actually, I reference all the prophets as well, as Zach did. Yeah. Rahime, role model.
As I think Amina said, there are many, but picking one, I would say a role model for myself, inshallah, is Ali ibn Abi Talib, because of his example of balancing justice with love, gentleness, and compassion at the same time. His devotion to Islam and to serving the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Beautiful. Delia, role model.
Hands down, my role model is my mom. My mom definitely embodies the American dream as an immigrant who came to this country, to a foreign land. She was a pioneer, and she struggled as a medical doctor, but her sacrifices didn't go in vain. And so, based on what I saw and what I was exposed to, I want to honor her and her legacy.
Oh, that's
so, and that's probably what has led me to the work that I've been doing for the last 2 decades, and her legacy has been passed on to my daughter. So it's it all started with my mom, and so she's the one that drives us and drives me in particular. Yeah.
Thank you, Henry.
Well, at risk of sounding cliched, I would have to pick Jesus of Nazareth. And again, referring to what Rahima said, it's a combination of passion for justice with compassion and love, and power with humility. Those are things that I can never emulate very well, but they certainly are a model for me.
Thank you, Henry. And finally, Ishaq, role model.
Yeah, I think this is a hard question, but one that I have is civil rights icon Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., primarily for his devotion to his Christian faith. And similar to what Rahime and Hank and others have said, his pursuit of justice through what I would call a principled and compassionate lens.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, all of you. I'm inspired. So, well, the next question, how about a favorite inspirational quote? Let me begin with you, Ishaq. A favorite inspirational quote.
Sure. Mine is from the Quran, chapter 93, verse 3, which is, "Your Lord has not forsaken you, nor is he displeased."
Amina, favorite inspirational quote.
Yeah, so there's a quote there, "But for the grace of God go I." And I think that quote really captures compassion for others. It reminds us that we're human, and that, where we are today is not necessarily because we deserve it, but because of God's will and grace.
Hassanin?
Through hardship comes ease. I love that verse in the Quran because it teaches me that challenges, turmoil, stress aren't bad. They're just opportunities for us to improve and come out the other side stronger and better.
They're actually,
and as a result, life becomes easier.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Tabassum, inspirational quote.
So I had read once that God will not ask you how many people you brought to the religion, but he will hold you accountable for those you drove away. And I find that very, very humbling, and gives me pause to think when I'm speaking to people about Islam, or even how I'm behaving as a Muslim.
especially internally within our own community, right? Zach, inspirational quote.
There's an extra canonical hadith, sometimes also attributed to Imam Ali, peace be upon them, that has always resonated. Whoever knows himself knows his Lord. Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. And this is related to and maybe read as a commentary on the Greek maxim, know thyself. And I think it's also corroborated by the Quranic verse, we are closer to him, the human being, than his jugular vein. And so I think that there's many spiritual treasures in Islam that the world is just starting to discover. And I think it's exciting to share those. Don't get me started.
Delia, inspirational quote.
What inspires me is the quote I recently read is, die with memories, not dreams. And that life is not a spectator sport, that you really have to get in there and face your fears and live your life. So that,
to the fullest. Beautiful. Melissa? Thank you.
Mine is from a mentor growing up who said, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, meaning listen twice as much as you speak.
I think you totally exemplify that, Melissa. Who hasn't gone? Rahime.
So I love everyone's quotes so much, and I will be following up with you later for those. But an inspirational quote that I've really loved for a number of years now is, do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Walk humbly now, do justly now, love mercy now. You are not expected to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. And it is attributed to Rabbi Rami Shapiro.
Wow. Has everyone gone on this question? Oh, I'm sorry, Henry, please.
Okay, well, I'm going back to my Midwood High School in Brooklyn, New York. The motto of the school it's in Latin, per aspera ad astra, which means through rough places to the stars. And I just think of that whenever I am tempted to just slack off.
Yeah. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you so much, Hank. So I have a few more questions for you. And let me see. Best advice you've ever been given. Best advice you have ever been given. So that's given to you. Not advice that you've given to others, but given to you. Zach, let me begin with you.
I don't know if this was precisely meant as advice, but it was repeated enough times that I took it as advice. It was from the great scholar of comparative religion, Houston Smith, and he always used to say, "Thank you, God, you are so good to me." This was his prayer, his mantra, his form of dhikrullah, or the remembrance of God. And he also happened to know the Fatiha and other Quranic chapters in Arabic by heart. And it was as if his thank you, God, was entirely sufficient. So this is something I'm working on, but I think is the key to success.
Houston Smith's description of Islam was the best that I had ever read by someone who wasn't Muslim, and I always remember that. And so that's why I always read him on other religions as well, because I always open up these books and look to see how they actually write about Islam, and his was almost speaking from within the religion, and I've always been impressed by him for that reason. Tebesso, best advice you've ever been given? Unmute yourself.
I was thinking while I was muting myself. No, I would say the best advice is to be in the moment. You know,
she's very Buddhist, by the way.
to just be in the moment, and like doing it occurred to me many times when I was giving presentations, when I would just look around just kind of take it in, you know, and sometimes I would have to remind myself, here I am, given a platform to speak about something that means so much to me, and just being in the moment and just appreciating that moment, that opportunity.
Beautiful. Amina, best advice you've been given?
So my uncle would often give marital advice, and I think it was in the context of marital advice, and I was probably preparing for some talk or something. So I'm not going to claim that I follow this all the time, but his advice was to win the heart, not the argument.
Yeah.
That really can be very important in the work that we do. We often just think that facts and data and all that's going to convey what we want to convey, but it's often how we make the students feel or the audience feel, or how we connect with them on a human level.
That used to be our mantra. We used to actually teach speakers that all the time. Yeah, we still do, but yeah. Henry.
Well, this may seem to contradict what I gave as my inspirational quote, but another favorite quote of mine goes, "Consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds." And I think the best advice I've ever been given by multiple people is relax, let go, because I have a hard time doing that, but it sure makes a difference, particularly when you're trying to accomplish something.
Yeah, absolutely. And God is in control of all things is advice that Muslims also say to themselves. Hassanin, did you go already? No.
No.
Okay.
For me, it's the obstacle is the way. I feel like I've learned more from Stoicism and Buddhism about Islam than I have from most Muslims I've met.
I hear you. Yeah.
Or scholars or teachers for that matter. But I love the obstacle is the way because it's a very Stoic saying, but it's something that's shared across all traditions because I feel that opportunities for greatness and for learning are dressed in a costume of stress and challenge. We tend to look at stress and challenges in a negative way. In reality, they're opportunities for us to become our higher self.
Absolutely. And Islam speaks to that all the time. Yeah. Melissa.
So my piece of advice actually comes from the same person who gave me my inspirational quote, and it is to clean up your own backyard before you go clean up someone else's. And to me, that really spoke. I was a Middle Eastern studies major. I went to the Middle East for undergrad, and my focus was really on the Middle East. And it was only once I had heard that quote that I really started to think about my purpose back in the US and reforming Americans' perceptions about the Middle East and Islam. And so that's something I really strive to do is, clean up metaphorically the way that, Americans relate to each other and respect one another.
Thank you. Delia? Best advice you've been given.
The best advice that I've been given, and actually I'm constantly being given, is by my mom. And that is anything that you do, anything that you give, do it without expectations. Because those expectations leads to disappointment. And so when you do something, do it for your creator and just leave it there. Yeah. Don't expect anything from anybody.
Beautiful. And you only learn that as an adult, unfortunately.
Very true.
Rahime?
So my coworkers will not be surprised by this at all. This is very task-oriented, but if you do not ask, the answer is always no. They're laughing because they know that I'm excited.
It's so funny. It's Huck? I don't think you went,
very
right?
simple.
Okay.
It's don't give up.
Don't what?
Don't give up.
Don't give up. That was the best advice given to you. Beautiful. Okay. And then finally, for the new folks, for those of you who are new, what's been your favorite aspect of your work at ING so far? So that would apply to Melissa. It would apply to Tabassum as well, of course, Zach and Hassanin. Why don't we start with you, Melissa? What's been the best part of your work here?
I'm really grateful actually this time to go first because I have a feeling other people will say a similar answer. Mine is just the people. I love working with all of you and I feel so blessed to, learn every day from your experiences and your perspectives. So absolutely the people that I work with.
That's beautiful. Tabassum?
It's absolutely the people that I work with.
It's beautiful. Zach?
I've enjoyed getting to know the people and and the culture, including yourself, Maha, Tabassum, Ishaq, and others that I'm just getting to know. I'm also excited to contribute to the work about, including the Islamophobia virtual course. I believe this work is vital and contributes to the common good.
Yeah, no, I think you're going to have a great time. You're going to have a lot of fun working on that with Amina, because our that specific presentation has really unfortunately developed just because of the widespread Islamophobia that we're now seeing around the world as well, not just in the United States. Hassanin, most interesting and fun aspect of the work at ING so far?
I'm going to say it's the diversity of the team. I love the variety of experiences, expertise that people bring to the table, and the consistent through line is the sincerity everyone comes to the table with. That feels extremely encouraging.
Thank you. And for the veterans, people that have been here for a while, so that would be, did I get everyone that was new? Yes, I got everyone. Okay. Oh, Delia, I'm so sorry. Delia, I missed you, Delia.
I'm so super new.
If you don't speak up, Delia, the answer is no.
Exactly. But everybody said my answer, so I'm just
so funny.
I just want to say ditto. I don't know. No, I think along the lines of what everybody else said is that this sense of me looking forward to come to work, engaging, learning, that's really important to me. The people that are around me are not just family, but they're people that I respect and honor. And I look forward to learning from them and working together for a cause. So that's really important to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And for the veterans now, what keeps you? What's the best aspect of your work at ING? Let me begin with you, Henry.
Well, I'd have to say the people too, obviously, and long time commitment with this group of people, with some of this group of people, and looking forward to getting to know the rest of it. But I don't add to what's already been said. It's writing and editing things that appear in public, that are our public face, and that express that core value of justice that is so important to, I think, all of us.
Thank you. Amina?
I think it's really the benefit of being able to do something meaningful every day of my life when I go to work. I think so many people have jobs that are just there to put food on the table or pay the bills, and really believing in the work. A side benefit, which is really interesting, is the ability to work at home, which as a mother has been really wonderful. Being able to pick my son up after school, being able to do what I need to do. And back in the day, that was not a thing. And so I'm kind of the original work at home, pre-COVID work at home person. And now we have people across the country who are working for us. And we've really seen the value of the internet as a connector.
Yeah. And then I think for the people's benefit, actually, we're not all in the same location. Tabassum is out of Chicago. Melissa is out of DC. Hassanin is out of LA. And then the rest of us are in the Bay Area, but no, actually, Henry is out of Eureka now. Yeah. And you've got 2 Oakland people and then 3 in San Jose. So, yeah. Thank you, Amina. And then Rahime.
So something that I find super fun and I love about working at ING is when we have a new school and a new organization who requests. So again, right, my corner of the organization is in programs. So I love when we have a new organization requesting a program and they're like really on the fence and they're kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of scared about bringing an Islamic speaker. What if people freak out? Or like talking about racism for the first time openly. They're really nervous. And then we do the presentation and they're just like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever.
I have you back.
Bring you back for 10 more sessions. that is just so much fun to watch, like them
Yeah.
go from like really scared and kind of like at, not at ease to like just completely
Mhm.
blown away. I love that. It's so fun.
Yeah. Thank you. And then Ishaq, finally
Yeah.
Ishaq.
I mean, there's so many aspects, but one in particular is this idea that, it's my job. Like every week in the middle of my workday, I can go out and speak to students across the country at this point, either in person in the area or on Zoom, about topics that I love talking about and answering students' questions, working with young Muslims as well and helping them navigate their challenges. All of that people-facing work that we do, I find very inspiring and I enjoy a lot.
Thank you so much, Ishaq. This has been amazing. Thank you all very much for joining me
Would
today.
you mind sharing your favorite part about working here?
Rahima just did? I'm sorry?
No, yours.
No, you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, mine, me.
Yours. Yeah, yours.
Oh, mine.
Why are you so surprised?
I'm stuck here.
Well,
I started I started the organization out of my experience with Islam, which was not very good. And my relationship with Islam and Muslims was not very good. And it wasn't until I learned, it wasn't until I opened up the Quran and opened up the seerah of the Prophet, the biography of the Prophet, and opened up, other classical works, and then engaging with Muslims, that I realized that I've been duped. Growing up in America, I've really been duped because I defined myself based on what I saw in American popular culture all my life. And my parents weren't exactly the greatest educators on this topic. They're all professionals, but they just didn't know the religion. They grew up under British Egypt, and which tore them from their tradition. And so that's why I started this work. I felt it was incredibly important that Americans know, and that Muslim Americans in particular need to be the ones going out and reaching out. And I hope that everybody gets a chance, that our audience watching this gets a chance to listen in on the event that we're having later today, which really goes into the program. So a lot of the folks here talked about these different programs, and you'll learn a lot more about those programs. And I don't want to repeat it here. If you watch that video, a recording of the event that we're actually having later today. And so this is just a supplement to that. But thank you for asking the question, Ishaq. And so let me just close by saying thank you again to all of you. You're all just wonderful colleagues to work with, and I enjoy every moment of it. And we work really hard, and we do very meaningful work. And I'm just honored to have you as part of this journey. And so to the folks watching, hopefully this gathering has provided some insight to a few of our core people who make up ING. However, we have many more folks that are quite central to the organization's success, and they include about a dozen more scholars who contribute to our content, and about 70 trained and certified speakers from all the various speakers bureaus we run. And then we also have affiliates who have their own staff, directors, and speakers that do exactly the same work that we do. And we couldn't do the work of ING without all of them participating. And perhaps someday, you can attend a conference when we bring everyone together, or at least, video stream it. For now, we just want to wish our viewers very well and leave you with greetings of peace, and hope you will join us in our journey to build peace among all Americans across the country. Thanks, everyone.